Hello everybody, my name is Jacob Brown. You're listening to the Absolute B-Sharp podcast. This is episode number 1. I'm really excited. Thank you for being here. Right, here we go. We are live. God, this is exciting. So, for those of you that don't know, my name is Jacob Brown. I'm a session guitarist, songwriter, and guitar tech. And this is the Absolute B-Sharp podcast. And it's running alongside my YouTube channel, which is just named Jacob Brown. I thought this would be a nice addition to it. I post a new video every Friday, so make sure to go like and subscribe, check out my videos. This podcast is going to run once or twice a month, and every other episode is going to have a guest. So this is episode number 1. This is going to be a kind of getting to know you thing, talking about the world of music and my studio setup. And then we've got a very, very, very cool guest for the second episode, so make sure you come back and listen to that. So, here we go. Well, I've only recently moved into a new house and recently put together this studio, and it's my first time having a proper high-end studio that's not like crammed into a corner. This room is dedicated to studio. It's got all my guitars, amps, audio gear, my Mac, everything, all my microphones, just everything I could possibly want. It's where I do my remote sessions. It's where I do my YouTube videos. It's where I do this podcast and where I will do this podcast. And I'm very, very excited. So I'm going to start by just walking you through. As you can probably tell, this is going to be quite casual compared to my YouTube videos that are not scripted, but I like to be quite professional on. This is just a casual chat. So I'm looking around my studio and thinking about what I should talk to you about first. So first of all, we've got my guitar rack, which when I'm sitting at my desk is immediately to my left, so I can grab them easily. I don't have all my guitars on my guitar rack, but I do have my main guitars. So going through, I have my Faith Parlor acoustic, which is really lovely. It's a solid rosewood back and sides and a spruce top. And it's a lovely Parlor guitar. I love Parlor acoustics. I don't know why, they just seem to fit better, and I like that you can, so when you sit back on the sofa and you're playing guitar, and with quite a few guitars it suddenly becomes really quite uncomfortable to sit back and relax and play. You have to kind of sit up in your classic seated playing position, and I really like that with the Parlor acoustics you can kind of just chill, sit back, and I can be in a professional setting, whether it be session or band, and just sit back and relax. And if I come up with something where everyone's talking or someone says, "Oh, what's that?" I can relax, just kind of let my hands just wander off, and then maybe I'll stumble on something. So that's great. It's a really great guitar, and they're not that expensive either. Actually, I think they're like £500-600 UK pounds. So if there's anyone listening in Europe or America, I don't know what that would be, but I think they're about 600 UK pounds. Then moving along, to the left of that is my Sonic Blue Fender Strat, which is just a classic Strat. I mean, if you're a session guy or a working musician, if there's any working musicians listening, you have to have a Strat in your arsenal. It's just part of what you have to do. You have to have that sound. This one is actually from the Vintera. You'll just tell me how I should say it in the comments below, but you know what I mean. It's a Vintera 50s Strat, so it's got maple neck, maple board. I think it is an ash body, and then it's just 3 single coil pickups, classic 5-way Strat switching system. Really nice. I like what they've done with these they're modelled on vintage, on the older school, but they're definitely not like a replica. The tuners, they're really nice, but they're modelled obviously on older tuners, but they're not replicas, so they're kind of a modern take, which is nice. yeah, that's a really nice guitar. And as you know, the Vintiera series, sorry, aren't aren't that expensive either. I like. I've got to admit, I have some really high end expensive guitars, which I'll get to in a minute. But I think in terms of budget guitars or cheaper guitars, because most guitars are expensive, we live in a great time in the world right now. Like my Faith that I've just talked about and my Strat, they're both the cheaper end, under 1,000. Um, and admittedly, the Strat is about to go in for some work. Well, me slash a very, very experienced friend of mine I know who is a very, very experienced guitar tech. We're going to do some work on it, and that's going to upgrade it a bit. But other than that, these two guitars are kind of out of the box, and they're really great guitars, and they're under $1,000. So yeah, I would recommend looking at both of those. Really, one thing I am gonna do is, just for the sake of experimenting, I'm gonna get one of Fender's pre-wired pick guard with pickup sets, and put that in, wire that in. Some nice what are they called? Texas somethings pickups, which I really want to try. And if they're not for me, I'll put these ones back in, because these pickups are really good. But I want to give it a try, and I'm also gonna fret level it, because the frets near the higher end, so around the 13th fret up, get a bit dicey. But it's not been a big problem. But you don't want that, so gonna get that leveled, recrowned, because I don't really. I mean, I've done it, but when you've got someone like my friend, he's called Nick Fraser. So shout out to Nick Fraser. He's awesome. If you know him, you know he is a guitar teching god, and he's one of the most humble men about it. But he is amazing. He will put a crazy amount of work into your guitars and make them amazing. He's a head tech, well, it's just tech manager for all things guitar, amp, technical related at PRS Guitars Europe. I've worked with him for quite a few years now, and he is a genius. He doesn't say so, but he is. But he's going to refret my Strat. Then moving along, got a bit sidetracked there. We come to not a cheap guitar. We have my PRS McCarty 594 double cut. It's a 10 top. I think it's either vintage sunburst or antique sunburst. It's got a lovely 10 top, and just really nice bursting. And I'm really, really, really happy with it. This is it's my favourite guitar. It is my absolute favourite guitar. I've had it for a long time. I've upgraded it a little bit. It's got some nice pearloid buttons on it. It's got HFS and vintage bass PRS pickups in it, instead of the stock pickups that come in it, which are the I want to say 5815, but I'm not sure. But you can correct me in the comments. But I've put the HFS and vintage bass in it, and it sounds amazing. It's such a great guitar, and it's just getting, guitarists who are listening, you'll know what I mean when I say it's just about getting to that point of where it's starting to look really, really good. I know some people like their guitars mint. I'm not one of them, but it's getting to that point where it's getting to that perfect amount of wear where it's just starting to look really, really sexy. Moving on from there, we have another high-end. Well, I say high-end. It's become more high-end in the years since it's been built. I have my 1963 Gibson ES120T. It's a really lovely. This is not a reissue. This is an actual 60s Gibson made in Kalamazoo at the factory in 1963. We managed to date it to. This is a really big guitar for me. This is my first vintage guitar I took a trip into London, went to a lot of guitar shops, ended up buying this at I ended up buying this at One Joe Guitar. Oh no, it's not One Joe. I went in there. I've forgotten where I bought it from. The day was such a whirlwind. It was such a great day, and it was so hard to choose, and I almost spent a lot more money, but managed to control myself, which is rare. But all of the guitars on Denmark Street are amazing. One of which I brought this from, and it is my first and at the moment only vintage guitar. There is a date in mind to go back and to get another one. Not the same guitar, but to get something else. In my mind, I'm gonna go still for something Gibson, still for something 60s, and still for something ES. But I have a few ideas, but I haven't narrowed it down yet. But I do have a love for vintage guitars, especially, you got I don't want to say everyone because that's not fair, but you've got to at least once in your life play a guitar made from the Kalamazoo factory, the Gibson Kalamazoo factory. There must have been something in the water. There's a reason that the mid to late 50s, 60s Gibsons are just great. I don't know precisely what date they moved, but and Gibson is still great, but you've got to try one at least once in your life. I love this guitar very much. There was a bit of if you're a collector, I'm not a collector. I'm a player. I like collecting and having a big arsenal of guitars and amps, but I'm not a collector. I don't mind if the guitar's made in 50s, 90s, 60s, 70s, 80s, early 2000s, any time. It could be made in 1920. I don't mind. It could be made yesterday. I really don't care. I play guitars and buy guitars and I pick up guitars, and if I play it and it does the thing, and we all know the thing, all musicians know the thing where you pick up and try an instrument and you're like, okay, yeah, that's it. That is it. You're coming home with me. If they have the thing, then I take them home. And I love them and I put them to work. There's no guitars that I have that I kind of keep in the case, keep minting back, and put away and try and keep safe. All my guitars get used, all my gear gets used. But this guitar was a bit of an odd one because it was a bit of a runt in that quite a few people had passed on it, because it's well used, well loved. And I went in and they showed it to me amongst a couple of other things that they thought I'd like. And the other things they kind of showed it to me as an afterthought, because the other things were way better, in way better condition. They'd been more looked after. And the thing is, I looked at it and I just thought, and I learnt this from Joe Bonamassa, who is obviously pretty much the king of vintage guitar collecting, and also guitar playing. To be honest, the guy's an animal. If it's not broken in any way. It's not had any neck breaks or anything. It's all original. The only thing that's been changed on it is the frets. Everything else is completely original. The pots, obviously the pickup, all the hardware. But it had been played. It had been used. It was a working musician's tool. And I just thought, and I've seen Johnny Bonamassa say the same thing, which is where I learned it. If someone loved it this much and used it as a tool this much, it must sound pretty damn good. And I plugged it into it's a Marshall Blues Breaker combo, I think, and just put a little bit gain on it, very little, just kind of edge of breakup. And my God, it just sounds so good. It's that I just plugged it in. I was like, 60s Gibson. bang. They obviously, there's different sounds for different models, but they all they have this, they retain this quality, and no wonder it's, I mean, there's a cigarette burn on the side of the neck. It's, like I said, there's nothing broken, but it's been well used. It's definitely a working man's guitar. Um, but and once I played it, that was it. I tried to play it cool. Uh, Thought about it, had a look around some other places, went for lunch, and then came back and had to get it. So that's it's kind of my, oh well, yeah, it's one of my favorites. That and the McCarthy. But yeah, definitely going to go back to Denmark Street. I don't know if I said if I said Drummer Street. That's a different street in Cambridge, near where I live. But Denmark Street in London, very famous road for guitar shops. I'm definitely going back there, and just to London in general, around the vintage guitar stores, and gonna try and pick up something. I don't know when, because I've, even though we've got all this crazy stuff with COVID going on, and my schedule's kind of been wiped clean, I'm still quite busy, so I'll have to see when I can go back. But I'll definitely do a YouTube video about going to Denmark Street and picking up another vintage guitar. But then moving along to the left again, I have, what is it? Oh, sorry for people that can hear my chair. I can't find my mic stand because like I said, we've just moved in, me and my girlfriend. So I'm still sorting out the studio a little bit, and I can't find my mic stands. So moving to the left, we have a black PRS SE Kestrel bass. It's a 4-string bass. It's I've got it on loan. It's literally just for my, if you hear the tracks that I make at the beginning of so every other YouTube video I do has a little short instrumental composition at the beginning, and this is what I use to play bass. I don't like sequencing bass. I'm not that good at it, so I like playing, and I actually enjoy playing bass. I'm not a great bass player. For my session stuff, I definitely wouldn't, unless someone wanted something really simple and was in a bit of a bind. I wouldn't offer that as a service, because I'm not a good bass player, and I'm not one of those people that thinks that bass is really easy and that it's just, if you play guitar you can play bass. It's definitely a different craft, a very, very difficult instrument. It's one of those things, anyone can play an instrument, but to play it good, there's a different level. I know some great bass players, and I love watching them play. They're awesome. But no, I use it, so I just use it for that. I don't really use it for sessions. I haven't been asked yet. I have it here for my YouTube stuff, and if anyone was ever in a bind and needed a simple bass line, and I was doing guitar for them, I'd offer, but I'd rather not, because you could do a lot better than me on bass. And it's a good bass. I mean, it's quite a cheap bass, but I don't need an expensive bass. It sounds good. I only run it into the Kemper because I don't have any bass amps, so I run it into my Kemper, and I've got some nice Michael Britt bass. I think they're Michael Britt. Michael Britt, for those who don't know, is a really great Kemper profile, well, amongst other things, a Kemper profile maker. He makes the best, really, Kemper profiles. I think they're Michael Britt, the bass profiles I have. I just run it into there for my YouTube video intro instrumental things. But yeah, it's a I don't know a huge amount about bass. I know little bits. I don't know how to play bass particularly well. I know little bits, and I like playing it. So, but yeah, that's fine. That's my one and only bass. And then the final guitar on my rack, because like I said, this is just my immediate rack. I have cases full of guitars behind it, but these are the ones I'm using at the moment. They're my kind of mainstays that I would be taking in and out of cases a lot if I put them away each time, so they're on the rack. And the last one is a weird one. It is a PRS SE Tremonti, one of from when they did the Quilt Top series, and it's like a cherry sunburst. And basically, it's the only thing that's original on it is the neck, the body, and the trem, and that's about to change. This guitar was my first kind of professional, I say professional guitar. When I decided that I wanted to be a musician, this is all I could afford. I bought this and an orange amp and cab, and this was kind of my first kind of mainstay working man's, instrument setup. So basically, it's had the neck and headstock repainted in a matte black, which is nice. It's got new tuners, new buttons, new pickups, new electrics, new hardware. Literally the only thing that is original on it is the trem, the neck, and the body. And the amount of times I've had people who think that because it's had the headstock repainted, it's had the lovely gold PRS writing, the kind of gold sticker that's put under the finish, put on the top. The amount of time I've had people come up to me and go, "Is that a private stock?" Because they can't work out what it is, and all it is a really lovely guitar that I've upgraded. Anyone could do that. It's not a thing that comes with working at PRS. Anyone could do this. It's such a lovely guitar. I'm really grateful for it. I think I've got a Tremonti pickup, as in a proper American Tremonti pickup in the bridge, and a vintage bass like I have in my McCarthy, a covered vintage bass in the neck, and it sounds brilliant, and I love it. And it's battered now. I had it slightly relicked by a friend way back when, but now I've used it so much that I've actually relicked through the relic. So now what was relicked you can't even see because it's more relicked. Just it's more worn naturally, and I love it. It's really great. Has a special place in my heart. Yeah, and that's it for my mainstay guitar rack. I've got guitars behind. I've got cases. I don't know if you watch my YouTube videos, you'll see behind my guitar rack that there's a lot of cases. And I've got my mono double case behind it. They're not a sponsor, but no, just might as well just say now, none of the brands I'm talking about today are a sponsor, but I love them all. So if they want to sponsor me, they're welcome. If you're listening to any of the brands that I've mentioned, but none of them are sponsors. I buy them with my own money and would do so again and again and again because they are awesome. So any brand, any of guitar, amp, microphone, audio equipment, case, gig bag, speaker, they are. I like to research and buy not the best, but the best for my situation. So behind my guitar rack, I have my mono double case, so it fits two guitars, and also has loads of big pockets. So that is what I mainly use for. So amongst my session stuff and YouTube and now this podcast, I'm also in a band called Science Company, which is a heavy rock band, which is kind of a passion project of mine. I'm lucky enough to play guitar and sing. I'm joint vocalist with my beautiful girlfriend. I'm very lucky that I'm in a relationship with a person that is also a musician, so I get to go out and do gigs with her. And the band is very high quality. There's also a drummer and bass player, Sean Clayton on drums, Lewis Young on bass. They're very high quality musicians. But that mono case is what I use for Science Company because we play mid-level club, mid-sized clubs, and sometimes kind of small theatre sizes, so a bit bigger, but generally not a lot of space, not a lot of time to set up and stuff, so I use small to medium amps and don't want to have big road cases, so I use the mono double case for my two guitars. I have enough space in my big pockets in that gig bag for my cables and my hearing protection and straps and everything that goes along with that. And then I have all my other cases with that, and some of them have guitars in, some of them don't. I've got my pedal board case down there. My pedal board case down there has my Silencer Company pedal board in it. I have my pedal board case behind me across the room, which is my pedal board for my session stuff, which is currently in a state of disrepair because I'm rebuilding it to make it more versatile. So that'll be what I take for live sessions, so playing live with acts. If I'm asked to actually go to a studio to record, or for rehearsals with an act. Obviously, when I'm here recording remotely, I have everything at my disposal, which is great. Or if I have an artist over to songwrite, which is what I also do, which is really great. So if anyone out there needs some songwriting or songwriting help, because I don't really write songs for people, it's more about helping diversify their ideas. So that's really great. Everything's kind of at my fingertips. Right behind me I have some of my amp collection, which consists of Black Star, Orange. I won't go through the actual models yet, I'll do a separate thing for that, but Black Star, Orange, Fender, Marshall, a few different bits and bobs. And then moving over to my actual desk, so I'm sitting at my desk. I have a really nice Apple Mac, which has been souped up by a company called Mac Finder. So it's basically an old chassis with all the internals are brand new, but the chassis is like 2015 or something, and it's just basically been souped up to have too much of everything, so I'll never run out of anything, because I'm not really a tech head in anything else other than guitar, amps, pedals and audio gear. So it literally I just needed a computer that would do everything and not crap out on me. So I asked friends of mine that I trust, and they kind of said anything over this would be fine. So so I'm running an Apple Mac. I've got a nice big multi-level recording desk from Gear for Music. I would really recommend them, because they're, people say a lot of stuff about Gear for Music's own stuff, but this was, a few £100, and it puts together well, and it's hard wearing, and it does its job. So now on the actual desk, I have a couple of pedals on the desk which I've just been using, both of which are weird, not common pedals. I have this pedal which is covered in tweed, which is, I can't even see the name. The aforementioned Nick Fraser brought this pedal. It's a boutique pedal, like there's a handful of them covered in this tweed, and it's a overdrive with a boost, and it has different settings. Like there's a little switch, three-way switch in the middle, which kind of makes it more tube screamery or makes it more mid-scooped, and it's quite a versatile pedal, and it's very boutique. And he basically brought it, and I tried it and begged to take it off of him, and then I did, and he regretted selling it to me and brought another one, but without the tweed covering, because the tweed covering is a bit rarer, and it's got like Dumble or Fender style control knobs on the top, so it's very cool. I really like it. I can't read the writing's worn away and I've forgotten, but it says, there's a little metal plaque on the top that says HBE, and that's a registered trademark, so I don't know who that is, but HBE tweed overdrive boost pedal. This is absolutely amazing. I love it, and I've been using it on almost everything exclusively for a long time. Sorry that the audio quality is a bit sucky for this first episode. As I said, I can't find my my mic stands, which is a bit of an oversight on my part. But I really wanted to record a podcast episode today, so I wanted to get this done, and I wanted to share this. I've been excited to do this for a while, so the audio quality will be better in subsequent episodes. The next episode, obviously, I have a guest who's really awesome. I won't tell you who yet, but that will have better audio quality than this. But anyway, and next to that lovely tweed pedal, I have this pedal which I came about by chance, which is an FY-2 fuzz box. It is I don't know how. I traded it with a friend of mine for a bog standard Boss EQ pedal, and it's a prototype. It's not even a run of pedals. Well, they did later make a run of these pedals, but this is a prototype. It actually sits on the bottom. I've just realized amp for one input and guitar for another. Well, that would be an output, but they actually have the writing saying which goes to which, because it's literally just a black box, classic fuzz pedal looking thing, with just a fuzz and a volume. And basically, it's not the best fuzz. It's not like, if I wanted like a really versatile fuzz, I'd get like a Fuzz Factory or something. But if you want a certain type of fuzz and you just turn the volume and the fuzz up to 10, both of them up to 10, turn it on, you get that. It's just so dirty and I love it. And I think it's like 70s. It doesn't have a 9-volt input. It literally only takes batteries, and the circuit is really simple, but it sounds amazing. So that's here as well. I usually only keep one or two pedals actually on the desktop, because I like to keep my workspace quite free and clear. But then by that is my Kemper rack. It's very useful. I'm not gonna really go into much detail about Kemper. Most people know what a Kemper is. It's just really useful, really versatile. Like I mentioned before, I have a lot of Michael Britt profiles on there. I usually use this for my YouTube instrumental intros. In terms of session, as I'm currently in the process soon to be getting a new, I'm getting the 2 Notes Torpedo Captor X to make my recording of real amps a bit more streamlined. So at the moment, the Kemper's being used quite heavily, and I only record amps quite rarely because they're doing the mic setup and everything. But that'll change soon, because I'm like I said before, I'm a bit of a gear addict. So I've got a new Marshall head coming soon, and I'm also getting that 2 Notes Torpedo Captor X, which is so awesome. I've watched a lot of reviews about it, and a lot of YouTubers I love have reviewed it, and it's an awesome bit of kit. So I'm looking forward to getting that and my new Marshall head, which is going to be probably the first thing I run through it. But that's the Kemper. Then moving along, I've got my Focusrite 8i6 audio interface. It's a USB audio interface. I'm running into it now. I use it for all my sessions. It's great. I've got a line running out the back, one of the inputs running out the back that goes straight into the Kemper, which is constantly plugged in. So I know that I have an input, which is input 3. Not that you'd really care, but that is always for the Kemper, and it's constantly plugged in, which is great. And I'm going to have another one running out that's for the Captor X when I get it. But it's a great audio interface, simple but reliable. Focusrite Scarlett stuff is brilliant. I'd recommend buying the higher end Scarlett stuff, because I've had the lower end stuff is good, but I've had some bad experiences. But Focusrite is brilliant. And then out of that, I'm running out to my 2 speakers, my Dyn Audio LYD5s. They are amazing speakers. I love them very, very much. They make a great sound, really great sound. They really kind of, when I changed to these or got these, it really blew my mind. So yeah, I can't say enough about these. Dyne Audio LYD5s, go check them out. Like I said before, none of these are sponsors. And that's about it. I've just got my monitor. It's just a standard, widescreen HP monitor because my eyesight is terrible. And I'm running Logic Pro X or Logic Pro 10, whatever you call it. And it's great. I'm also running a lot of the Slate Digital plugins, which are brilliant. Especially the tape emulator, I'm really enjoying, and the tape emulator and their compressor. I forgot the name of it. Their compressor, which is basically an 1176 clone. I've forgotten what it's called, but you'll either know what I mean or just type it into Google. Slate Digital 1176 clone. It will come up. It's not called that, but that'll be enough to find it. In terms of rack gear, I'm a bit short at the moment. My Kemper is the only real thing in the rack at the moment. I'm again, another thing that I'm expecting to arrive or come up soon when I can, because at the moment the new Marshall and the Capture X have drained my money and I've just moved house. So after that, I want to invest in an actual rack compressor. I like the look of the Warm Audio, their 1176 modeled one. A producer friend of mine has one in the studio, and I've been looking at that every time I've been in to do work with him. So yeah, I'm looking forward to getting that. But that's basically my studio setup. I've got a canvas, which I don't know if it's in shot when I do my YouTube videos, but I think it is sometimes. I've got a canvas of Eric Clapton on the wall watching over me while I make music. He is my hero. He's the reason I picked up guitar. Seeing him play live was one of the best experiences of my life, the closest thing to a religious experience I've ever had. Then I've got my Slash Live at the Roxy vinyl in a nice frame on the wall, because not only do I love that album, I love that band, as in I love the individual musicians. They are amazing, separately and together. Miles Kennedy is one of my favourite vocalists. Slash is obviously amazing guitar player. I love that album as well. It's a really good album. I'd recommend listening to it. Slash Live at the Roxy. I don't know whether that was a limited pressing, but either way, it's up on the wall because I love it. And that's basically my studio. I want to go a little bit just into, so this studio is where I do my remote sessions. It's where I do my songwriting. It's where I do my YouTube videos, my podcasts. It's also where I, rehearse for gigs on my own. I obviously do go out and do rehearsals at rehearsal spaces. Eventually, when this COVID thing has died down, this will be where I have artists in when they want, me in on songwriting. Because, set up a vibe, come up with some ideas, and try and, make something cool. But at the moment, the studio is basically set up how I want it, just. But there's still some boxes in the corner where there's going to be a nice sofa. My amps are kind of stacked up on top of each other, which they will be when I have them how I want, but they're going to be stacked up differently, a bit wider apart, because at the moment it's going to get a bit tall when my new amp arrives and stuff. So I want to kind of have it set up a bit longer and flatter, so I don't have to reach or stack or put too much weight on the ones on the bottom. I'm really excited, honestly. I can't say enough. I'm really excited about this podcast, and this is, as I've said before, the first episode, and I really appreciate everyone listening. I know the audio quality, like I've said before, is not as brilliant as it could be, it will be a lot better because I'm running into a nice mic, and I've got a compressor and a de-esser on the mic, on the channel, sorry. But the mic stand's making the audio a bit less, the quality of the audio a bit, because I'm literally holding the mic. But I've been excited to do this for a while. I'm using my Shure SM7B because it's a classic podcast microphone, amongst other things. It's great for vocals as well. Male vocals, I find mainly. For female vocals, I use my Rode NT1 a bit more. It's not strictly female and male between them, but most of the time. But yeah, I'm really excited about this podcast. I've wanted to do this. I wanted to do the YouTube channel for a while, and the YouTube channel's just started. And at this point, I'm 3 episodes in. By the time this goes out, I'll probably be 4 episodes in. But this podcast is not going to be a weekly thing like the YouTube videos. There's going to be probably 2 episodes a month, one with just me and one with a guest. And we'll talk through everything. I'm going to have guests on to talk about their music careers, their gear, lessons they would like to, wisdom they would like to impart. I'm as excited to learn from them as well. I don't know whether you are excited, but if you are, and you will be when you hear who I've got on. So that's a surprise for later. So I want to keep that until the episode, so you can come back and listen. I want to trick you into coming back and listening with the promise of a cool artist, and then when you hear who it is, you won't be disappointed. I've got a few actually lined up for the next few months. It's going to be quite cool. But for now, I'm going to sign off, and I just want to say thank you so much for listening. I love making YouTube videos, and I've really enjoyed making this podcast, although it would have been more fun with a mic stand. But yes, thank you so much for listening. I really enjoy doing this. I'm going to keep doing it, even if no one listens, just because I enjoy it. So if you listen, if you take something from it, please enjoy. If you have any questions about anything I've said about any of my gear, what I do, or just say, Jake, find your mic stand, for God's sake, please comment below. This has been the Absolute B Sharp podcast. My name is Jacob Brown, and I will see you next time.